Hello and welcome back to our final segment on today's President's Table. My name is Dan Jones, the President of Texas A&M University Commerce, and for this last segment we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is the continued enrollment growth here at our university. And our guests for this segment are Dr. Mary Hendricks, Vice President for Student Access and Success, and Dr. Ricky Dobbs, the Dean of University College. And the two of you have had a great deal to do with the growth that we have been experiencing, especially for the last 3 years. But before we talk about the great news this fall, let's talk about the trends. Mary, let me ask you to start with, starting in, I guess, about '09, we started seeing some pretty impressive numbers in terms of growth.
That's correct. When we created our Division for Student Access and Success in January of 2009, we immediately set our enrollment goals. Very far-fetched, we thought at the time. 10,000 in fall 10, 11 and 11, 12 and 12, 13, 13, so you see the trend. Right. And fortunately, because of everyone's efforts really focused on students and their success, we were able to achieve that.
Right. Well, and you talked about, that was going to be my next question, is what has driven this growth? Because when you look at the numbers statewide, we're clearly ahead of the curve in terms of growth at this university. Everybody, well, most universities are growing. Some actually are either flat or showing declines. Those that are growing typically are kind of in the 3 to 4% range. This fall, our growth was about 9%.
Right.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And what are the factors that really support that kind of growth?
I think there are many factors, and if we had to isolate what those are, excuse me, I think it would be we're very focused on a plan and where we want to recruit, what students we want to recruit. And then it goes beyond that in focusing on the individual student and providing the services that they may need to be successful, whether it be financial aid, scholarships, accessing various resources for them. So many of our students continue to be first-generation students.
Right. Isn't that amazing? We're 123 years old, and now we're bringing in, of course, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren of some of our alums.
Right.
But even with those legacies, over half of our students still are the first in their family to attend college.
That's correct.
And for them, it can be a little puzzling, a little frightening. And so that high touch, high tech and high touch is the key to success.
That is the key.
And Ricky, this kind of gets into your areas, Dean of University College. What is University College?
University College is the receiving organization or unit for freshmen and for many first-time transfers. And what we're trying to do is create a personalized educational experience that focuses on the students' well-being academically and personally, that gets them plugged into the university, that gets them to see this as their home, their academic home, and also not only prepares them well to move into their majors, but turns them into great alumni when they get out because of how well they were treated here.
Right. And that is, it's interesting that you bring that up there at the end about teaching them to be alumni. One of the favorite sayings of people who work in your all's field is, begin with the end in mind.
That's right.
And one of the ways that we help motivate our students is to not focus on today's struggles, work with them and support them, but imagine where you're going once those struggles, are successfully carried out and you've overcome the obstacle.
Right.
University College is not something you find on every campus, and that was created in 2009 at the same time we created the Division of Student Access and Success. But every new student starts out, that's kind of the report of entry,
true.
Right?
And it's a place where they get concentrated attention in terms of their academic progress, but we also have the Student Testing Office operates through our office. We have 2 scholarship programs, Freshman Leadership Class and Regent Scholars Program, that operate through our office. And we're evolving into a very data-driven, very numbers-oriented, experimenting organization, trying each time to perfect it or get better. But at the same time, there's a very real human element to that, which is, you're currently dealing with early intervention for freshmen at 5 weeks and looking at their grades. That's going to be a personal phone call. That's going to be personalized attention. And I think the NESE results that we received for the National Survey of Student Engagement showed a dramatic increase in how plugged in students felt to the campus. They felt people cared about them from 09 when we started to 12 now.
Yeah.
And I believe the division has a lot to do with that.
Oh, absolutely. You know, one of the keys to student success is student engagement.
That's correct.
And there's ways to measure that. You know, I mean, it's not just a matter of how do you feel,
Right.
but you know, you can actually attach quantitative measures to that. How many organizations you're in, you know, other kinds of things that show up on
Right.
this survey, the NESE results. Question to either one of you in terms of quality of students. You know, one way to grow quickly is just kind of open the doors and let anybody in. That's not how we're doing it.
No.
What do you see in terms of the quality of our incoming students?
Well, consistently the last 3 years, ACT and SAT scores have surpassed state averages, so we know we're recruiting a higher caliber student.
Right, right. Making ourselves that destination
Right.
university.
First choice.
First choice.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of young people coming through on campus.
Yes.
Middle school students, even elementary school students. What kind of an impact does that have long term in terms of helping them imagine themselves as successful college students?
Well, I think it creates the image and the dream
Right.
that they can come. So many of our first generation students really do not believe they belong here.
Right.
And it takes one reason for them to turn around and go home. And I think it's our job to make sure they never have that reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And when they're contemplating that reason, someone is there on
Exactly.
the phone,
Right.
reaching out. Again, it's the human
That's it.
touch
Yeah.
that makes the difference in all of this. Tell me about our 12,000 student.
Oh, Hannah. Hannah is from Bogota, Texas. Chose our institution because she could not take her horse to Colorado. So it's a really interesting story. And in fact, we were visiting with someone just a few minutes ago, and Hannah is blossoming here.
Really?
She, in fact, is engaged.
Oh my
and
gosh,
so it's
already?
amazing
Oh, wow.
when you make the correct choice, how things can line up. Yeah.
Well, I can remember the day that Hannah registered.
Yes.
Because we were monitoring, counting
Right.
the students one by one, and,
Yeah.
you know, we were all on standby. So as soon as that 12,000th student showed up, I ran over and we got the
Right.
balloons out and
Yeah.
rang the bell.
It was a great day.
I think Hannah was a little bit mystified.
Yeah, I think
about
she
it.
was a little overwhelmed. Yeah.
But just a sweet, sweet young lady, and we're so
Yes.
happy to have her.
Yeah.
Real quickly here, we're toward the end of our program, but in terms of strategic growth, where do the two of you see the university heading in the next 3 to 5 years? It can't be growth at all costs, obviously,
No.
right? It needs to be high-quality managed growth, but what do you think that means in terms of numbers and support and so forth?
Do you want to speak to
Oh,
numbers and
boy.
I'll talk about support?
I'll take a stab at it. I really think when we reach 15 as an institution, that's the ideal size. If you have resources available, faculty and support services, when you start getting a little larger than that, it's very difficult to serve.
Well, it's difficult to kind of do the kind of things that you all are talking about.
Right.
And that is
Right.
reach out and touch every student every day in a meaningful way. Well, congratulations to both of you, Dr. Mary Hendricks, Dr. Ricky
Thank you.
Dobbs,
Thank
for the
you.
great job you're doing, and thank you for being an important part of this great university.
Thank you.
Great,
Appreciate
thanks.
you being with us. And that's it. That's our wrap for this edition of the President's Table. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you back here next month.